One question that's often asked is, does Gurbani allow the consumption of meat, or does it recommend a vegetarian diet? So in discussing this question, the most important thing to understand is that we only look at Gurbani and no other source. So what does our Guru say about eating meat? So one guidance from Guru Nanak Dev Ji is that this is definitely not the most important issue in spirituality. Guru Nanak Dev Ji says, "Mas mas kar murukh chagde, gyan dhyan nahi jane." So only fools argue over the topic of meat, and they don't know anything about spiritual wisdom or meditation. So any approach we take to this topic has to be with this guidance that we don't argue over this, and it doesn't become the most important thing, within spirituality. That being said, it would be wrong to say that Gurbani doesn't address the topic of eating meat. There are a lot of verses by Bhagat Kabir Ji that talk about meat. And Bhagat Kabir Ji recommends not eating meat. Bhagat Ji says, "Jo sab mein ek khudai kaid hai, to kyo murgi mare?" If you say that the one God is within all, why do you kill a chicken? Kabir Sahib also says, "Pang machli surapan jo jo prani khai." Whoever consumes marijuana, fish, or tobacco products, Tirath Varth name ke sabbe rasatal jai. Whatever religious actions he's done, whether it's going to holy places, fasting, they all go to waste. So Kabir Sahib clearly tells us not to kill anything for our food. Kabir Sahib also says, "Jio bado so taram kar thapo, ataram kaho kat pai." You kill living things and say that this is the way of religion, then what would you call irreligion? So just to summarize, Gurbani is against eating meat, but Gurbani tells us to not argue over this topic. Some people, and we may have had debates with family members or friends on this topic, and sometimes the topic of animal cruelty comes up. Like, even those of us who follow a vegetarian diet, what if the animals are who are giving the milk are being kept in an inhumane way? That is a valid point. So we should, as Sikhs, strive to only consume those products that are produced cruelty-free, in which the animals are treated with utmost respect. Because milk is actually not prohibited within Sikhi, and that product comes from an animal. So that is also a significant guidance for us. The other thing is that some people who eat meat may argue that, you are still killing living things when you're eating plants, which is true. Plants also have life. But oftentimes the things that we're consuming as vegetarians don't involve destroying the plant. They're kind of products of the plant, like fruits or vegetables. In some cases, roots may be consumed. So yes, it does involve the destruction of some life, but usually not the destruction of the whole organism. And in Sikhi, we believe that whatever action we do, we have to bear the fruit of that action. So for example, if our food is the result of somebody else's suffering, we will have to bear the fruit of that action. While plants do have life, we also have to take into account, animals can feel pain. A lot of the animals that are being eaten are sentient. They can feel pain. They understand attachment. So, exactly how much suffering are we inflicting when we eat those animals? And is that compatible with a spiritual lifestyle? But I think the reason Guru Nanak Dev Ji said that this is not the most important issue is because there are far bigger sins that we can do that harm our spiritual life. For example, slander. Gurbani spends a lot more time talking about slander than most other sins. The 5 thieves: lust, anger, greed, attachment, egotism. Those rob us of our spiritual life more than anything else. But if we were to follow the guidance of Gurbani, then the vegetarian lifestyle is recommended. But it's also recommended that this not become the most important issue. And vegetarianism can become a support for the ego also. So more important than vegetarianism is to be humble and not to be egotistical about any of our spiritual practice or spiritual discipline. So that's a brief summary of what Gurbani says about meat eating. And hopefully we can all come to a consensus on this topic.